Hi, I'm Catherine. Welcome to Starlight Garden. This is a tiny farm in southeast Atlanta where I grow medicinal herbs and heirloom veggies. In this video, I'm going to tell you how I started my tiny farm without any startup money. How did I do it? It was privilege. I know, that's a hard word, but what I mean by privilege is that I was given gifts that I did not earn. And without those gifts, my way of starting Starlight Garden would not be possible. Even though I don't have a lot of money, I get to enjoy the privileges of an able body, free land, support from my community and my friends and family. So a lot of financial obstacles other people might face, I was able to overcome due to my circumstances. I'd like to offer that you can still start gardening right where you are, but your path might not look like my path. So after I tell my startup story, at the end of the video, I'll give you some advice that maybe everybody could use. I'll also let you know a crop that you can start in the winter. If you're in the South, you might be able to plant this plant today. Okay, so it's not exactly true that I had no money when I started Starlight Garden. It is true that I didn't have a big chunk of startup capital, but I had to spend $20 to $40 a week probably on average. Maybe a really expensive week would be $80 to $120, but I didn't have a big bunch of savings that I threw into the farm. I didn't put a bunch of materials on credit card to start it all at once. And that meant that I could only buy a few things each week and gradually start a little bit at a time. The greatest gift that I had was time. 7 months between starting building soil and planting the first plants in the garden. That gave me the time to do it as I could afford it and break it down into bite-sized pieces. I had 7 months to bring in organic materials a little bit at a time. I had 7 months for those organic materials to rot and mix and mesh and attract worms. I also had 7 months to get to know the land, get to know where the sunlight was at its strongest, get to know where the shade was. I had 7 months to build infrastructure, like set up a shed, a watering system, a little fence, trellises for things to climb on. People in our community were incredibly kind, and they actually gave us some money to get started. People donated through our PayPal account, and maybe it was $5. The biggest donation was my best buddy, and she gave us $200 that bought all of our fence wire. I'm really, really grateful for people who wanted to help us out that way. People gave us things that weren't money too. We had people donate tools. Our shed was donated. We had a rain barrel donated, a wheelbarrow donated, a garden cart donated. And the thing about donations that you need to know is that you might not get exactly what you want. Like, somebody might give you some fence wire and maybe you need 150 feet, but they only gave you 15 feet. Well, if you're flexible and you improvise, you can make a little trellis with that 15 feet of fence wire. Maybe you couldn't fence your whole garden with it, but there's another way to use it. When you let go of perfectionism, you're open to the containers that become available, the spaces that become available, the plants that become available, because you don't have to do it your ideal dream way your first year. You just have to get started. I also have the great privilege of having an able body. A lot of what I'm able to do that saves money is actually just hard work, a lot of physical labor. There's a lot of shoveling, there's a lot of hauling, there's a lot of going to get things instead of having them delivered. Well, if I had money, I could hire somebody to bring me really great soil. I didn't have that kind of money, so I couldn't have my soil all at once. Instead, I built the soil over 7 months using free materials mostly until the lockdown happened in March of 2020, and then I did have to have about $80 worth of topsoil and compost delivered from a landscaping place because one of my free soil sources got closed down by the lockdown. Very lucky also that I have family who support me by giving me gifts at my birthday and Christmas. So I asked to have seeds or plants or gardening gift certificates for my gifts over the past year, and that was a lovely contribution from my mom and my stepmom and my mother-in-law. They gave me all kinds of great stuff for the garden. My land is free. I had land on my own property, just 1/4 of an acre, but I'm already growing a lot of things there, some fruit trees, a lot of flowers, and I don't get the same amount of sun that this space gets. So it was incredibly kind of my neighbor to lend me this space. I know that free land is the ultimate privilege, and I totally appreciate that that's not available to everybody. So if your version of getting started right where you are might be growing plants in containers in your driveway or on a balcony, or maybe putting out a call on Facebook to your friends and asking if anybody has a side yard or an unused sunny spot in their backyard where you could grow on their property. Even though I did all of the digging, the planting, the watering, and the weeding, I did not create this farm by myself. I received gifts that I did not earn from the system that I live in and the community that I'm a part of. I also need to acknowledge that 2019, the time in which I started my tiny farm, was really different from 2020, the time that we're facing right now. 2019 was pre-pandemic and other people had more resources to offer. And you don't need raised beds. Raised beds are an idea that looks great in a magazine. People can sell you these products like raised bed kits, but it can be a real barrier if you can't afford the lumber, you don't have the ability to use the tools, or you don't have access to the tools. So I would say if you're a renter, you can plant in pots or other containers that you find from the thrift store. And if you are owning or borrowing land, you can plant right in the dirt. And if the dirt's not great, you can amend it with free or low-cost soil amendments that you do not have to till up the ground. You can layer those nutrients on top of the ground. You can get started growing something today. As I am speaking to you, it is early November and it is not too late to plant garlic. You can get garlic bulbs from the grocery store, break the garlic cloves off of the bulb and plant them in the ground about 2 inches deep, pointy side up, 4 inches apart, and you can have garlic in just a few months. For about $1, you can get 12 garlic plants off of that bulb. Thanks so much for watching. In the next video, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about dirt. The first thing that you need to put in your new garden. I'll tell you about how I built the soil. I'll tell you why you don't need a tiller. Talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. As soon as I come out here, somebody starts a saw or a leaf blower or a lawnmower or something. We're just gonna go with it. I've been trying to film this intro for like 3 days. There goes a saw. In today's video, I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about what... Oh. Are you okay? I was gonna record some audio for you guys, but naturally the minute I came out here and pushed play, the leaf blowers started. So instead I'm gonna hoop for you and track it with a little bit of music probably. Leaf blowers. I didn't. Yeah, babe.